They say the devil is in the detail, and the petitioners in the presidential election have laid out in detail their case against the election of William Ruto as the country's president and the conduct of the IEBC in the same election. Now, the cases will rely on the numbers that matter, the presidential election tally, and the needed percentages, and whether these numbers were a true reflection of the will of the people and whether the Constitution was satisfied with the requisite percentages. Brenda Wanga now unpacks these facts and figures of the petitions up next.
As the IEBC prepares its response to the petitions filed at the Supreme Court over the election of William Ruto as president, the attention will be drawn to the numbers and percentages contained in some of the petitions, numbers that the petitioners say do not add up. Raila and Raila-Karua point out the disparities in the percentage of voter turnout as declared by IEBC on 3 different occasions. On the 10th of August 2022, hours after the close of polling, the IEBC put the voter turnout at 14,466,779 voters, representing 65.4% of the voter turnout. This figure had been expected to increase once those voters identified manually had been tabulated. Raila and Karua state that the number of votes as recorded in Form 34Cs is different from the total number of votes identified in the KIMS kit, a difference of 140,028 votes that they claim the IEBC cannot account for. They also claim that the Commission has been unable to account for another 250,000 votes cast in the election, excluding those identified manually. The IEBC allowed use of manual registers in areas where the KIMS kit identification failed. Similar arguments are reflected in the Omtata petition. Omtata argues that the 64.77% voter turnout, representing 14,326,641 total votes cast, including invalid and rejected votes, fell short of the 65.4% voter turnout as reported from the KIMS kit numbers after the close of voting on the 9th of August. Even then, Omkia states that the 64.77% did not take into account the number of voters who were identified manually in the 238 polling stations in Makueni and Kakamega counties where IEBC allowed manual identification, which, according to Omtata, translates to some 140,028 votes that were untallied and which the Commission cannot account for. The seasoned litigant further indicates that there are further disparities in the final tally of the presidential race. According to the IEBC's chair declared voter turnout of 65.4% on the 10th of August, the total number of votes cast was 14,466,799. On the other hand, the total tally as contained in the Form 34C that was used to declare the president-elect, the total number of votes was 14,326,641, leaving 140,138 votes untallied and unaccounted for. The same computation of the figures in Form 34C puts both Raila and Ruto below the 50+1 mark, with Ruto getting 49.99% and Raila 48.37%, putting the presidency out of reach for both candidates in the first round of voting. The petitions collectively want the Supreme Court to annul the election, order a retally of the votes cast, or order a fresh election, while declaring the IEBC chair Wafula Chebukati unfit to hold office and therefore unfit to conduct another presidential election, amongst other prayers. Brenda Wanga, Citizen TV, Nairobi.